The morning started the same way it always did. I brewed my coffee, grabbed my keys, and headed down to the garage. My sandals echoed against the concrete as I turned the corner. The space where my car should have been empty. Just empty. I blinked, stepped closer, half laughing like maybe I'd parked in the wrong spot. But no. This was my assigned space. Unit 2C. The nameplate still read M. Voss. My car, the car I'd paid off just last month, was gone. Not scratched. Not broken into. Gone. My fingers trembled as I called building security. The guy on the other end mumbled something about a camera system update. "We've had glitches, ma'am. Sorry, can't pull footage from the last 72 hours. Panic met reason. Maybe it was towed. I called the impound lot. Nothing. I reported it stolen and waited for that hollow confirmation. But something didn't sit right. Later, I called my mom. She picked up on the third ring, voice higher than usual. "Hey, sweetie," she chirped. "Everything okay?" "My car's gone." A pause. "Oh my. That's terrible. Are you sure you parked it in the right?" "Mom," I interrupted. "It was in the garage. I always park there." Another pause. I could hear shuffling, maybe papers or hands nervously rubbing together. "I'm sure it's just a mix-up. Maybe someone—" I didn't let her finish. My throat tightened. "I'm calling the police." Her voice, almost too quickly, too forcefully, "Wait. Maybe don't yet." It clicked. A whisper I'd overheard a few days earlier while dropping off soup. My mom murmuring in the kitchen to someone, probably Dad. "Rhett needs a break. Maybe this will help him turn around." I remember freezing at the door, pretending not to hear. That whisper. It hadn't meant anything then. But now? It was everything. The DMV lobby buzzed with low chatter and bad lighting. My ticket number blinked, B23. A woman behind the counter called me up, her voice cheerful but mechanical. "I'd like to report a stolen vehicle," I said, handing over my registration and ID. She tapped, squinted, then frowned. "Ms. Voss, your vehicle's ownership. It was transferred last week." "What?" "It was signed over to a Rhett Voss. Here's the documentation." She slid the paper forward. The signature, my name, but not my handwriting. "No. No. No. They forged it," I whispered, more to myself than to her. "That's not me." I left, stomach churning. The sidewalk felt uneven, like I couldn't trust the ground anymore. By the time I pulled into my apartment, Dad was sitting on the steps, sipping coffee, calm as sunrise. "Hey, kiddo," he said, like nothing happened. "Where's my car?" He set the cup down. "It was just a car, Marla. Rhett needed help." I wanted to scream. Instead, I stood still, breathing in betrayal. The video autoplayed on loop. Rhett, my brother, grinning in my car. "Shout out to the best parents in the world," he laughed. Hooked me up with this beauty. Love you, Mom and Dad. Family first new whip. I clicked pause, then rewind. Watched again. My name wasn't mentioned once. Then he said it. My sister doesn't need wheels. She needs a boyfriend. He laughed. Someone in the background laughed too. I didn't. I didn't cry. I just shut the phone, opened my laptop, and searched how to report vehicle title fraud. I sat on my couch with the blinds drawn, computer open, staring at the screen. The cursor blinked like a dare. File. Or don't. I called Mom again. She answered like she hadn't been ignoring my texts for days. Marla, please. Don't do this. This is a family matter. Don't bring in outsiders. Outsiders? You're being dramatic, she said. This will tear the family apart. I didn't shout. I didn't beg. I simply breathed in and said, no. You already did. That night, I pressed the numbers. 911, what is your emergency? My name is Marla Voss. I'd like to report a stolen vehicle. The suspects are my parents. The call connected. I gave them their names. Out loud. For the first time. Within 24 hours, the whispers started. A neighbor caught me outside my door and said, I can't believe you did that to your own folks. No question. Just judgment. Rhett had already posted a video by then. A moody clip with sad background music, standing next to the car. Sometimes your own blood doesn't get what loyalty means, he mumbled to the camera. The comments exploded with sympathy. Hearts, hugs, stay strong bro. Darla called her church friends, crying. She's so confused. We've always supported her. She didn't use my name. She didn't have to. They all knew. Luther? He didn't speak. He just stopped coming by at all. Then the messages started. From uncles, cousins, people I hadn't heard from in years. I heard what you're doing. Suing your own parents? Are you even human? One voicemail from my cousin Trina stuck with me. Girl, this ain't it. You need therapy, not court. I sat in my kitchen at 1 a.m., staring at my phone. Half a dozen messages unread. Half a dozen more unreadable. I didn't cry. But I did wonder, am I the villain in their story? Detective Nyla Graves met me at the precinct 2 days later. She had a calm face, the kind you didn't argue with even if you were right. I've reviewed the transfer documents, she said. The signatures weren't yours. We're opening a fraud case. I nodded. Slowly. Like I wasn't even in my body anymore. There's more, she added, sliding a file toward me. Your father transferred the house deed to Rhett 3 years ago. It wasn't legal, but it was done quietly. Your mother wasn't even listed. I felt a chill. All those times Dad shut down my ideas, college, internships, traveling. Girls don't need degrees, he once told me. They need husbands. I was 16. He said it while driving me home from school. Detective Graves leaned forward. This isn't new, Marla. It's a pattern. The law can do what family won't, hold them accountable. I signed the affidavit. Not just for the car. For everything. Celeste showed up uninvited. She knocked like she was angry at the door for standing between us. I brought pie, she said, holding a file folder. It wasn't pie. Inside were journals. Court transcripts. Her handwriting from the 80s. Dreams of law school. Rejected applications. I wanted to be an attorney, she told me, eyes sharp. But I was told Rhett's dad needed help with the business. So I quit school at 16 to babysit your father. History, she said, likes to wear hand-me-downs. She warned me before leaving. They won't scream. They'll let others cut you for them. That night, Rhett posted screenshots of old texts, conversations where I vented, where I cried, where I said I felt invisible. He cropped out the context. The internet pounced. What a cold witch. Ungrateful. Spoiled brat. Darla sent a text the next morning, if you keep going, I might just collapse from the stress. You'll be the death of me. I forwarded it to my new therapist. Celeste paid for my first 3 sessions. The courthouse smelled like old wood and fear. The hearing was open to the public. A few locals came. Some out of boredom. Some to watch me fall. I wore a navy suit I borrowed from Celeste. My hands didn't shake. My voice did. I told the judge what happened. How they forged my name. Took my car. Tried to take my silence. Rhett cried when it was his turn to speak. Darla fainted in the pew behind us. Luther never moved. Outside, people protested with signs. Family first. Blood isn't betrayal. One sign read, daughter or demon? The judge didn't decide that day. But he looked at my parents and said, this case warrants serious review. That night, Rhett texted me. You might win the case. But you just buried your whole family. I put my phone on silent. Winning felt like nothing. The courtroom emptied. The paperwork was filed. The car title was corrected. Rhett was sentenced to probation, and technically, the law had done its job. I should have felt relief. Instead, I went back to work the next day and no one said anything. People smiled in that polite, Midwestern way we'd imported to California. A few asked how my weekend had been. No one asked about the hearing. About my family. About the story that had reached every corner of the suburb like wildfire. At lunch, someone offered me half their sandwich. That was the closest I got to warmth. At home, silence wasn't comforting. It scraped. I left the TV on all night. Not for entertainment. I just couldn't stand the sound of my own thoughts bouncing back at me in an empty room. Therapy became part of my Tuesdays. My therapist, a woman with kind eyes and blunt words, once asked, now that you got justice, what do you want next? I had no answer. I laughed softly. Then stopped. then stared at the window behind her for the rest of the session. It wasn't about the car. It never was. It was about being taught that silence was love. That sacrifice meant loyalty. That being the good one meant being invisible. And now I had everything I fought for, and nothing left that I recognized. A year passed. Spring returned, and with it came a letter. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. Slanted. Rushed. Like someone trying to be neat but always running out of time. Rhett. The envelope felt heavier than it should have. I opened it with scissors, careful not to tear. He wrote, "I'm sorry, kind of. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I had some bad people around me. I miss the old days. You're still my sister. Blood doesn't fade." No punctuation. Just ink on paper and space between words where emotion should have been. I read it 5 times. Then I sat back and stared at the ceiling. A birthday flashed in my head, mine, age 11. He'd smashed my cake. My parents laughed. I cried. They told me to be the bigger person. That was always the rule. I was always the bigger person. I didn't reply. But I didn't throw it out either. I placed it in a drawer. Not because I forgave him. I just didn't want to carry it anymore. Some things don't need an answer to be over. Group therapy on Thursday. We sat in a circle, discussing boundary trauma, how people closest to you can be the ones who cut deepest. Halfway through introductions, I felt the air change. The door creaked. And there he was. Rhett. He sat in the back. Hoodie up. Hands buried in his pockets. He didn't speak. Just watched. Our eyes met. He stood. Walked out. Never said a word. The room stayed still for a second too long. Afterward, a woman beside me asked, "That your brother?" I nodded once. She smiled. "You scared him just by being here." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So I didn't do either. That night, I journaled, "Forgiveness isn't healing. Distance is." And it was true. The farther I got from them, the clearer I could breathe. Weeks later, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Marla, this is Phyllis Brandt," the voice said. Cheerful, clipped. "I'm a friend of your mother's." Of course she was. She wasted no time. Luther and Darla are in a bit of a bind. The house is in foreclosure. Rhett hasn't been able to help financially. They're trying to avoid losing it. I waited. She continued, voice syrupy. "They need $20,000. They didn't want to bother you directly. They figured you wouldn't answer." She laughed softly. I didn't. "They were right," I said. Calm. Final. "I see," she said. "Well, I told them I'd try." "You tried," I said, and hung up. Not out of vengeance. Not because I wanted them to suffer. But because I was no longer their emergency contact. Their fixer. their fallback. Freedom wasn't sweet. It was sobering. I didn't celebrate. I didn't cry. I just got in the car, the one with my name on the title, and drove. I didn't look back.